Alright guys, so this video we're going to be doing a couple of little upgrades to the off-road lawnmower. I took it to the Cars and Cameras Mini Mayhem. As you see in this footage here, it actually did very well. You know, it was keeping up with a lot of stuff out there. And for a lawnmower, a regular stock class kind of lawnmower like this, I'm pretty impressed with it. Pressure wash this thing it's definitely a lot cleaner than what it was. But however, it does have some issues with it. The biggest issue I had with this thing was that on the last trail ride, my steering broke. I tried to turn and it just shot to the right, and I went like right up in the tree and almost hit the tree and crashed the thing. And what happened was that the steering tie rod bolt, somehow the nut came off and came loose from the pitman arm or whatever. So what I did temporarily while I was on the trail, I went in my trunk back here. I got my couple of zip ties out I keep in the back, and I was able to put a zip tie around the bolt to keep it intact, just kind of halfway, and I was able to limp the thing back to camp. But when I was loading on the trailer, I turned the steering wheel a little too hard and the zip tie came right off, and now the steering's broke. The other thing was that whenever I splashed into a mud puddle, the tire would just throw water right into my airbox right here, and it would suck in a bunch of water and it would almost stall. I know this is supposed to have like an air filter cap over it, but when I got this engine, it did not have the cap. This is all it was. This is a new filter, by the way. The throttle is definitely gonna need some work. I mean, the throttle was all right, but one point the cable did break off, so I had to put another zip tie, as you can see right there. My bypass governor lever works very well. Half the time I had to like keep holding this thing while I was giving it throttle, just because like with this all the way down, when it was like that, it wasn't really turning up that high. Another problem, when I was kind of running at high RPM, the PCV must have let a bunch of oil pass through. I was going along at high RPM one time and it started smoking like crazy. Like there was all kinds of smoke coming out. I thought I blew a motor at first, until I kind of sat there with the clutch and started giving it throttle, and eventually all that stuff cleared up. I do like the governor hooked up. I'm not going to totally bypass it to the throttle because I've tried that before, and it kind of feels like, you know, you're going to blow the motor up, you know, when you're running at low speeds and stuff like that. I got a good low range first, second, and third, and a good fourth, fifth, sixth, high range. 20 miles an hour is really all I want to go on this thing, really. And I do use it to pull jet skis around and other trailers back there. As you can see, I pull those around with this because I got a trailer hitch on the back, custom made. Put a link to the video down below if you want to go see that. Now my racing mower, since I have it very aggressively pulley swapped and it's a twin, I bypass the governor on that because, you know, with the governor, it just kind of makes it sound lame. And, you know, it's a racing mower. It's not supposed to have a governor. But an off-road mower, a governor is very practical. I did actually have to use the winch one time, and that also worked very well. A lot of people found that pretty fascinating. Also, the brakes are kind of sticking a little bit, so we're going to have to figure out what's going on with this parking brake system. So you guys may start to notice that this used to be the ball and socket unit, and I got a nut and a bolt straight through it because the ball and socket unit has actually failed before, which is why I did this upgrade. All right, so I got my nut here, and we're going to be tightening both these nuts together. Also, guys, another big thing I forgot. I don't know if you can see that, but the engine is actually moving. Why, you might ask? Well, check that out. One of the bolts just completely came loose. And I noticed that slightly before I figured out my steering was bad. So, yeah, we're going to be putting a nut and a bolt straight through and locking this thing down so this will never happen again. Steering's much better. You can't really see it, but the motor's definitely moving. All right, so we're getting this bolt in now. Boom, now we're gonna get all the other ones done. So one little thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be fixing my throttle. And this is an adjustable throttle stop that came out of the old shifter linkage out of the racing mower. So I'm just going to be loosening it, moving it back just a little bit. And the reason I put the stop in here is because I don't want to push it all the way down and rip the throttle cable out. All right, so I'm going to call it about right there. standby. Secondary throttle works good as well. So one little problem I'm gonna fix real quick is the winch was kind of a little bit difficult to get to. I cut this out so you can easily flip it down, but the trouble is that trying to reach all under here and crap and flip it back up with the hood on is kind of a challenge. So if you notice, guys, both of my wheels are kind of towed out a little bit, and it's kind of hard to see on camera, but the tie rod going from there to there kind of bows in. And when I really got to looking at this, well, there you go. Like, the whole tie rod right there is completely bent in. Check that out. I mean, that is insane. Yeah, it's a little bit castered in. That's pretty crazy. There's a little bit of spindle play, but it still spins free though, and it's stopped by my steering stop, which also works very well. That steel sleeve that goes all the way over here, that goes in there, it kind of fits loosely in there. I actually welded that in place in here, and that has made my steering spindle a lot tighter. All right, guys, what I'm gonna try to do is I'm gonna try to bend this tube here more straight. All right, so we're gonna be bending this bar back straight. All right, so we got the tie rod pretty much straightened out. I could put it back in there just like this, but why not just make it a bit stronger, because, you know, it's probably gonna happen again the way I'm driving this thing. So what I have here is a piece of rebar. We're gonna weld this right across here just like that and make this tie rod indestructible. All right, well, that's that can out. And now you can see with all that back together, there is hardly any spindle play whatsoever. I mean, there's a little bit because you don't want it to bind, but that is obviously much tighter. So just after kind of looking around a little bit, I figured out the bearing in this one feels a little bit loose and it was kind of making some noise. So I got another one here that I'm just gonna swap in real quick, and that'll be that job done. So we're back on all fours now, and the steering definitely feels much tighter than what it did before, which is just awesome. And I'm really excited to test this rebar setup, because this is extremely hard, thick steel, and there is absolutely no way this is gonna bend. It still looks all right. We'll give it a little cleaning though. All right, so the engine's about 140 PSI, so that's good. So I changed my mind and decided to put in a brand new spark plug, because I have a whole stash of them up there in my cabinet. You don't want to over tighten it, just do a little bit and call it good. And And I decided to put my old but good used one in my trunk because I don't have a spark plug back there. And as you see, I'm putting a rubber hose over it to protect the gap and make sure that's all good. So now we can keep it in the trunk and always have a spare. So if you're wondering how much steering wheel play I have, if you ignore this bit right here, that's pretty much perfect. So another thing I'm probably gonna be doing is changing the oil in this engine. If you look right there, I can feel like a slight bit of grittiness. There's like a little bit of dirt in it. And that was after I did the compression test. So it's probably a lot of crap in the oil. And I think after running it as hard as I have, I think it does need to be changed. So this is the most easiest engine ever to change the oil in. I'm gonna show you how easy it is. It's on here pretty tight. Yeah, look at that crap, guys. Once the oil is completely drained, all I gotta do is just put my drain bolt back in just like any other oil change and tighten it up. And the final thing is add my new oil. Using SAE 30, it's the only stuff I have laying around and it should work perfectly fine. I'm also going to be adding a little bit of this ZDDP stuff I have left laying around. And this mainly helps with the flat tappet cam. Perfect. And that's it. Under 5 minutes, no mess whatsoever. Easiest thing ever to change the oil in. If this motor had a filter, yeah, it would take a little bit longer, but this motor doesn't have an oil filter, which is why I also change the oil a little bit more often than this. So clean air filter, new spark plug, fresh oil. This thing should start right up perfectly fine. And that's without even choke. Well, look at that. My brand new tires for the rear of this lawnmower just came in. No, I'm just kidding. These are the front tires from my Arctic Cat 400. There'll be a video on that soon. Well, unfortunately, it is raining right now because I wanted to take the rear tire off and adjust the brakes and check things out under there. So I'm going to wait for it to stop raining. All right, so we actually got the Kawasaki Prairie 650 out because it's heading back to my grandparents' place. So I decided to pull the off-road mower in here so I can service the brakes under there and work on it in here rather than being outside in the mud. So I know some of y'all are going to say that I should upgrade to the cast iron front axle. Yes, I will. I really do want to do that. That will be something I will do later on because I don't really want to do it right now. It's holding up okay. I had to weld a couple of spots, but I don't feel like tearing this whole front end back apart again. I don't know why this crap is hanging up. I mean, it seems to move somewhat freely. All right, so I removed both of the pins. They look a little rusty. I'm gonna go through and kind of blow this out. All right, so I'm gonna put a little bit of anti-seize on these pins. There's hardly any side-to-side placement and in and out placement. Yeah, it's pretty tight. It's a little bit in and out. So yeah, transaxle seems to be doing pretty good. All right, so I'm checking the fluid in the transaxle, and it still looks pretty good. So I just wanted to be sure of that. So I did top off the fluid just a little bit. So yeah, I think everything's ready to go. All right, so I kind of fabricated together my own Airbox because I didn't feel like going out there and buying my own, and it seemed like it was pretty easy to do. Basically, all I did to do this was get a standard cardboard box, cut it out into the desired shape, place it on there, made sure everything was good. Then I taped a couple spots. Then I took it back off, fabricated a top to put on it, and taped that all up. Put it back on, made sure it was good, and then took it back off again, taped up everything else, and placed it all back together, and voila. Is it gonna work? I hope so. Everything should work on it. It just mainly needs to keep all the water from splashing onto that. All right, y'all, so that's gonna be it for this video. There'll be another video on why that is out. I'm gonna upgrade the headlights. Yeah, everything seems to check the box and it's doing pretty good.